Recently, we went on a tour of the Hammond Sanitary Department's main wastewater treatment plant. Our guide was Jeff Macy, the superintendent of wastewater treatment, and he gave us the majority of the information in this video. There are 40 outlying pump stations that all feed into this plant. This facility is co-owned by the city of Hammond and the town of Munster. This facility is a Class 4 wastewater treatment plant, meaning that there are 4 stages of treatment. It is one of the largest wastewater treatment plants in the state of Indiana, ranking 5th largest in the state. This facility treats waste from Hammond, Munster, Whiting, Highland, and Griffith. The net value of this treatment plant is around $1 billion. There are 75 full-time employees working here, and the average daily flow into the plant is 34 million gallons a day.
Everything that comes into the plant is from combined sewers. There is a 35 million gallon stormwater basin, or CSO basin, across the street that water will sit in until the plant can get caught up so as to avoid overflow inside of the plant. However, it could still possibly overflow in a case of a heavy rainfall, which has happened a couple of times before. When this happens, the water is actually considered partially treated because the solids tend to fall to the bottom and only the water overflows.
The first building in the process is the Columbia Avenue Pump Station, which was built in 1938. Its original job was to pump all water brought into the plant directly back out into the Grand Calumet River without any treatment. Since then, the full treatment system has been improved and built behind it. Now, this building is being used for pretreatment. In pretreatment, water filters through and passes a set of rakes. These rakes catch large debris, such as tree branches or 2-liter bottles.
This section here is also part of the pre-treatment process. This is a biological treatment plant, which means that no chemicals are used during the treatment and cleaning of the water. The only chemicals used are at the end of the process for chemical disinfection, which utilizes chlorine, sulfur dioxide, and polymers. The main source of treatment comes from the bugs, which are microorganisms that eat the biosolids found in contaminated water. Bugs need oxygen to survive, but when the wastewater comes in, there is almost no oxygen present in the water. Thus, the wastewater must go into a pre-aeration tank, which adds oxygen to the water. This is the primary treatment tank. You may see things moving across the water. These are greases and oils floating to the top. Flights, or long chains, pull the grease down to the bottom of the tanks so they can go to sludge treatment. Grease is also the #1 problem at the wastewater treatment plant because it can clog up the pipes.
When the water leaves primary, it goes into secondary treatment, which consists of aeration tanks. Throughout this process, there are still trillions of bugs consuming the waste. The bugs also remove the phosphorus from the water. Phosphorus is one of the materials that is prohibited to be dumped into the Grand Calumet River. The interviewee, Jeff, stated that he feels the amount of phosphorus that is being discharged could still be reduced. Phosphorus can kill aquatic life, including fish, and because the treated water is mostly being discharged to the Grand Calumet River, the levels must be watched very closely. There are also multiple discharges into the Little Calumet River, as well as one discharge into Lake Michigan.
The mixed liquor, which is the mixture of bugs and water, exits the tanks through this channel here. This is considered to be treated wastewater. It only looks muddy because of the bugs in it. The water then comes through this channel into these big round tanks called final clarifiers. The solids all sink to the bottom. This water is considered clean enough to be discharged, but this plant prefers to clean the water even further.
Instead, the water goes to the tertiary filter building. In this building are Archimedes screws, which take the water up and then let gravity guide it through the sand filter. The water leaving this process has a suspended solid of less than 1. The water is crystal clear. It then goes into this tank here, called the chlorine contact tank. It goes back and forth to give the chlorine time to kill off all the bacteria. They also add sulfur dioxide, which binds to the chlorine. This prevents the chlorine from killing fish in the river.
The old technology used to take the liquid biosolids and dump them into these pits, which were called lagoons. They have since been cleaned out. The wildlife seems to have taken a liking to these now empty lagoons, so they have been left as is after being cleaned.
This is where the water is being discharged from the plant. This is the Grand Calumet River. Biomonitoring is done here every 6 months to make sure that the fish are still living and reproducing like normal.
There are 2 types of sludge, waste-activated sludge and returned sludge. The returned sludge goes back to the aeration tanks to help control the food-organism ratio, as stated previously. The waste-activated sludge still has bugs in it that need to be killed. The plant mixes the sludge with a polymer that makes the particles in the sludge ionically bond together. It is then sprayed onto an 8 to 10 foot wide conveyor belt made out of similar material as seat belts. The water falls through and the sludge is sent to the digesters. The digester process in total takes about 30 days. In the tanks there is no oxygen, so the bugs die off. The bugs dying produces methane gas. The plant then uses this methane to power some of the process, but they are also looking to start selling the gas.
This is a gas ball. As the gas comes off of the digesters, it is collected, compressed, and put in here to be used throughout the system or to be sold. The sludge that is produced goes into this building and is placed here. It all goes to farms to be used as fertilizers. All the fats, oils, grease, and grit that is taken from the wastewater gets put here into this large pit. This is the only thing at the plant that goes to the landfill. Everything else goes to farms. There are different classes of biosolid based on what type of crop you can grow on it. The waste that is sent to farms is an effective way to use an otherwise useless waste, and it creates some revenue for the plant that can be put towards bettering the plant. The plant runs a pre-treatment program to help reduce the amount of industrial waste that comes through the plant because the bugs can only treat organic matter. The pre-treatment program includes Community Hospital in Munster, the Pepsi plant in Munster, and Three Floyds Brewery. And that concludes our tour of the Hammond Sanitary Department Wastewater Treatment Plant.